Good to see you.
Yeah. So I have a lot, and I've been retired for about 13, 14 years, so I'm not, I haven't really kept up on the new varieties a lot of the times anymore, since I'm not trying to introduce a lot of the new stuff. But I still have a few roses and still enjoy it, and go look at roses wherever I happen to travel. I was in Southern California 3 weeks ago at Armstrong Garden Centers, and they had roses. They were still not real far out. They were potted in 5-gallon containers, and they were $45 a piece, which I think Mesquite is about the same price.
Yep.
But
Rito is 49 now.
yeah.
Yep.
So, and Armstrong has a lot of varieties that aren't available to a lot of other nurseries because they contract with the breeders to be able to introduce varieties for 3 to 5 years before they turn them loose and let other nurseries market them. So sometimes you'll find varieties there that you won't find anywhere else. Their quality is excellent most of the time. They're great nurseries. They're scattered all over the San Diego, LA area, and now they've moved up into the San Francisco area. They grow a lot of their own stuff, and have a lot of stuff contract grown, and I understand they recently bought a big nursery on the east side of the country, so they have access to some plant material that you wouldn't normally think would be available. As far as stuff to do in your garden right now, watering, we're going into the 90s again here real quick, like tomorrow.
Yay!
And, you know, we had a little no rain this winter. We're at about 37% of our normal rainfall for the winter, which is, we don't get much anyway, so when we're that far down, that's pretty far down. My roses are all in big 24-inch pots. I'm soaking them every other day right now with temperatures in the 80s, and I wash them down real good every morning. I've been doing that for years. We did it at the nursery. They were all 1,500 roses, and this time of year were all washed down every morning.
Good job.
But it cleans them off, knocks the aphids off, cuts down on disease issues, and gets some humidity up around the plants. So I do that pretty well. Right after I prune, I don't do it so much because there's nothing to wash down. But for 8 or 9 months out of the year, I wash them off pretty much every day. It's kind of therapeutic anyway. Be careful that you make sure that the water in the hose, the hot water, runs out before you do it. And you cannot burn roses with water unless it is hot water. The story about the sun coming down and focusing and a water droplet is not shaped to focus sun. So when we have a nursery, if it got over 108, we'd go out about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, hose over the top of the rose bushes, never burn one. Yeah. If the water's too hot for your hand, it's too hot for the roses.
Good job.
I'm feeding every 10 days to 2 weeks with Magnum Grow. Got a can of that?
Yeah.
Want to grab that? Magnum Grow Rose Food. It was developed by Dr. Earl, chemistry doctor over in California, specifically for roses. I use it on every blooming plant in my yard, and they're very happy with it. It's not a real high nitrogen. It's only 8-10-8 formula, so you don't have much of a chance of burning. I'm very lazy. They say a tablespoon in a gallon of water, sprinkle it around and wash it in with the hose. So
How often?
every 10 days to 2 weeks right now. My foliage this spring, is some of the best I've had in years. My roses have had alfalfa, maybe alfalfa pellets, Epsom salts, blood meal, the Magnum Grow, and one little sprinkling of just a generic tree and shrub fertilizer. If you're really into showing roses over the next 2-3 weeks, Lou alternates between Fish Emulsion and Magnum Grow. One every other week, right? There's really not much of anything else to do. Keep an eye out for insects. Again, if you have aphids, most of them can be just washed off with a hose. A little bit of mildew around. I haven't had any mildew in years, and I had last fall a little bit, and I've got some this spring. So I went out and looked in my cupboard, and I don't even have a fungicide in there because I haven't sprayed for mildew for years.
It seems to depend on the rows.
Oh, yeah.
Some are just mildew magnets.
Yeah, some of them are mildew super prone, and some of them you couldn't give it to them, I don't think. We had an old, the Rosa Banksia, or not Rosa Bank, the Dr. Ewing, the rootstock. It's an old climber that they used to graft most of the roses that are sold here. And it has a little red rose, and the cluster's about this big, 15 petals or so. Blooms early in the spring, real dark red, so when you see a yellow rose bush with a branch with red on, it's the understock that's come up from down below. But we had one that we planted on the south end of the nursery, away from where we kept our roses, because it got mildew just like that. And that was our canary in the coal mine. So if we saw the mildew on there, time to start spraying, because I never preventative sprayed unless I knew I had an issue. So I figured we got enough crap in our air without me helping it out. So, not much else. I'll feed through every other week through at least the middle of May, and then during the summer I feed about once a month. You're doing so much heavy watering that it leaches all the nutrients out. So it's a good idea to replace them a little bit. The old theory was don't feed in the summertime, and I've changed from that. Not much else you can do. Bring some roses for the show.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We need roses.
You're gonna get critiqued a little bit here tonight about what you brought.
So
Yeah.
put on your thick skin cream.
Yeah.
Nothing's personal.
Yeah, it's nothing personal, and we try to not make it too bad and wrong, but
Don't cry.
Could you address thrips, please? Because I've been using the Captain Jacks, but
I don't even know what that
it's
is.
not helping that all that much.
It's a spinosad.
Okay.
Are you just spraying the buds as they start to split open,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not doing a thing?
Mm-hmm.
You might want to go to the Bayer control in the blue bottle, because it has the merit, is the active ingredient.
Which is systemic.
Okay.
Thrips,
Do you know
she asked
organic?
about thrips. And thrips are not microscopic, but about a 1/16 of an inch long and much skinnier. And they're kind of a beigey color, and they love light colored roses. And they tend to get into the buds when they're forming. They actually get down inside of it. They chew on it, they suck the juice out. So when your rose opens up, you end up with brown edges around the end. And they like fragrant roses, they like yellows, whites, light pinks preferably.
They love white roses.
And I'm sure if we took almost any one of these roses and tapped it out, you'd find a thrip.
Really?
It's always plural.
Okay, so why does this one not have fruit damage? This one?
Well, it may have been sprayed. They seem to like some varieties more than others. Yeah, I don't know if they all take a vote and say, let's go chew on this one.
And also,
And the thing is, that this year, with no rain, we had no wildflowers. And that's where the huge thrip populations get started, is out with the wildflowers and the weeds. And just about 2 weeks before the rose show,
Sure.
all the wildflowers and the weeds start to dry up, so they go look someplace else for a meal. and your yard is just a prime candidate.
And if you have citrus trees nearby, they go to that, or if you have cassia blooming, or any desert mallow, anything like that, they're gonna be right there. So if you're near the desert, they're gonna be, ooh, paradise.
Yeah.
And the spraying doesn't help, the daily spraying with water doesn't get rid of.
No,
No,
because they're
they're-
inside the buds. They do all their damage before the buds open, when they're just green and the sepals are still up. They do their damage mostly in there, just as they're starting to break open and show color. And sometimes you take one that's kind of brown and you take a piece of paper like this, shake it out over the top of it. And
They're all falling on off going, oh no,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
caught.
Yeah, you know, you can find dozens of them inside of one. And they do have actually more damage to a throat flower than any other insect we have, unless you've got grasshoppers, which aren't out yet so much.
So there's nothing to
Maybe in
prevent them.
Tubac they're out, that's grasshopper heaven down there, so.
Yeah, but I had deer the other day.
Oh, my.
And they nibbled and here and there.
Yeah.
So is there nothing you use to prevent them? That's it?
Well, you can spray with something with a systemic in it, and the one made by Bayer, I think it's available at most nurseries, big box stores and the nurseries. Comes in a blue plastic container, and you want the spray one, not the one that has the insecticide in the fertilizer that you put around it. And, but it's very effective.
Neem oil in it, very good for it?
No, because it's not a systemic, it doesn't get any,
Okay,
you know,
so down inside.
you know, neem oil is basically a contact.
I actually used that Monterey systemic that you drench, soil drench, and I've had really good results as far as I've had almost no threat.
But it's the same active ingredient.
I'm not sure what it is, but
Imidacloprid, I think
it's whatever
It's imidacloprid, I think.
Kevin brought over.
Right.
But I used 2 gallons, and you're gonna, because almost all mine are in containers, so for like, it depends on how tall the bush is. So if it's 3 feet tall, then you would put like 7 to 8 tablespoons. You water it first, get the soil drenched, then you put it in a bucket and add like a gallon of water, and you dump it. And then you don't water heavy, because you want it to stay in the root zone for at least a week. So you just give it light watering, and it's really, it helps control the aphids and the thrips without doing the above ground spraying. So you don't want to use it obviously on near fruit trees or vegetables, anything like that. But it seems to be doing the job.
And sometime in the next week, if not sooner, 10 days, you'll start to see some of the leaves with almost a perfect little circle cut out on them.
Yes, yeah.
I've already got those.
Yeah, they know when the rose shows are coming. They have it on their calendar. They're cutter bees. They're a bee that lives solitarily. They use that little half circle, 3/4 circle piece, and they roll it into 3 or 4 or 5 pieces into, it's like almost like a little flat bottom ice cream cone. And they put some wax in there, and they lay an egg, and then they put another one and another one. And they like to go into like little holes
Oh,
in wood piles or places like that. Because they want, something that's just about the diameter of a pencil. And that's what
You
they,
can buy houses for them.
and they'll put their eggs in there. And they don't eat any of it, so the sprays don't kill them, they're just making a nest out of it.
Well, with the systemic, the babies are probably not going to live.
Probably, yeah, it's a possibility.
You done cut your last leaf, you little bastard.
Yeah. But they know exactly when the road shows are. And they'll pick one, if you've got 20 bushes, they'll pick one and make it look like somebody went after it with double lock buckshot.
They do have favorites. There's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it.
They must like the taste of
And
it.
they like bougainvillea leaves, hibiscus, things with fleshy, fairly soft leaves.
A rocker palace too.
Huh?
A rocker palace too.
Yeah,
Or not to.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes they'll take some out of the petals, but usually just the bullet. All right, I think I've done my damage for tonight, so. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, does anyone have any announcements before we get this? Diane? No? So we have a show coming Saturday. If you have roses, please bring them. I have the show schedules there, so you know which category and which kind of thing to put them into. So we need your roses, so if you have roses, bring them. They all contribute to the show. So what we're gonna do here is a little mini show, and Donaldina, who didn't know, was gonna judge.
Because I didn't read my
You
newsletter.
didn't read your newsletter. I know we talked about it though. Well, anyways, get up here.
You?
Me?
Okay, great. Okay, the first thing you should do is fill out your entry card correctly. And I noticed the schedule didn't have sections on them, so you don't need to fill out the section. But the class is important, and to put them in the right class, so make sure you know what the class description is.
Yes, that's critical.
And fill out your name, but see, you fold it in half so the judges can't see whose entry that is. And actually, it's a disqualification, that's one of them.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, if we can see your name.
Oh, so don't do
So we
that.
don't want to know who it is till after all. the
Very
judges-
secret, very secret.
So the first class is,
The hybrid teas. And the main thing too, when you're entering, you wanna know that, you've gotta know the name of the rose and what kind of rose it is. Because otherwise you're not gonna be able to put it in the correct, placement.
class, yeah,
Right.
section and class.
Yeah,
So the first section, we have 3 sections actually in our rose shows. The horticulture, the arrangements, and photography. So if you don't have any roses, please bring your pictures. But, would you please leave your cupcake? I have a photo that I do not want you to copy. See this photo? Beautiful rose. See all the droplets on it? You might think it's pretty and everything, but it's very distracting to the beauty of the rose. And so we're looking at the rose and we see all the water on it. Don't do this, please.
it's a staging technique, but you'll lose points because the judges don't like it.
Well, it's distracting. It's not that we don't like it or dislike it.
It is distracting.
It's very
One
distracting.
thing, at the rose show, we noticed you folks have put your roses up here. At the rose show, you put it on a placement table, and the placement people will place it. So you don't have to worry, as long as you've got the right information on your
Yeah,
card.
they'll check it as well as they can.
And they
so-
do.
And sometimes the wrong class is on there and they'll try to call you back to correct it and show you. Yeah, so we've caught it. And also during judging, if it happens to slip by them and it gets put in the wrong section or class, and before we judge it, if we can catch it, we will move it to the right class so that it can judge against others of like varieties.
But it's critical that you read the schedule because that is the Bible for the whole show. And that's where you're gonna see all the rules and regulations and things you need to follow. Yes?
You know, it's really strange, the American Rose Society, they've got the exhibitor name that you should have on the cards here, but they have got one whale of a backlog of somebody who's not doing their job, because there's a lot of newer varieties that are not on their database. They're not in that handbook for selecting roses or the combined rose list.
Oh,
That's
really?
what we're.
Is that anywhere in the literature?
No, that's the problem. What do you do if they're not getting off the rear end and doing their
Well,
job?
we give the exhibitor the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
If
we're not gonna
if
disqualify
we can't
you.
find it anywhere, you know, we just say, okay, then maybe they know better, or they were at a nursery and that was the name on the plan. And sometimes it can be wrong.
So what Lou's talking about is the American Rose Society, who sanctions all these shows, they have like a huge book of all the names registered for all the roses that ever were in existence. But there's so many new varieties coming out now, they're backlogged. So we, as judges, we realize that's what's going on, so we just, you know, we don't want to disqualify anyone. We
Yeah,
really
we can
discourage
help
that.
it. And-
Because we
and
want to
there's-
encourage people to bring roses.
Yeah. There's a lot of disqualification rules that have been dropped. And it's kind of getting hard to get used to, you know,
What,
that's a disqualification.
yeah, I know, because we're the old school.
Yeah.
But you do, take maybe some points off if you see
Yeah,
something
we
that's
will
like
take
not
points off.
kosher.
And all those droplets on the flower, we take all those points off.
Yeah, depending on the judge street, like you're in Lhasa.
Okay, now, one of the things I noticed, this class, it says hybrid tea, grandiflora, so you have to know what kind of roses those are, but there's an A and B. And the A is single bloom exhibition stage, and you have to know what exhibition stage looks like. So it's the high point hybrid tea with the point still there. But for some roses, they don't have this form. This poor little thing does go to bed early, and she's a single rose, but she's also a hybrid tea. And so it's impossible to make her open up and wake up. Even in the morning, sometimes you'll see the exhibitors blowing on it
Or
or
putting
putting
it
it
in
out
the
in the
sun,
sun.
hoping it gets hope.
Open, open.
I know it's a trophy.
But it just won't, and she's a beautiful rose.
Well, in a normal show, this would be in a single petal, category for hybrid tea.
Yeah, it
She
can-
wouldn't be, she can never be queen, unfortunately, sad.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But there's an A and a B section to this class, and the B is fully open. So if you're gonna enter a fully open, you have to know what the description of a fully open rose is. And always stamens, everybody knows what a stamen is, and those little things in the middle of a.
Does everyone know what a stamen is?
That yellow one was a good example.
Yeah,
Well, this is a good example.
Yeah, that's
These
a
are the
stamen.
stamens here.
Yes, that's impressive.
so, in a fully open rose, the stamens must show, and we will do our darndest to see the stamens, we'll even hang upside down. Because we want it to compete, so some of these entry cards have class A, but they don't have class B, they left it blank. So I don't know if the blank ones, well, I can tell if they're stamens, but you should read it carefully and put the correct information so that they can put it in the correct class. Like I said, if we can catch it, we will put it, or have the clerk, we're not allowed to touch the specimen. We'll have the clerk.
You
put
can't
it in.
tamper with anything.
No. Another thing you have to learn is how to properly exhibit the rose. You see this rose here? You see this green thing in here? It's called the wedge. You can use different materials
You
to
see that in the top?
prop the bloom up so that it stands up straight and looks up to the judge. And you notice a lot of the roses are kind of shoved down in there, so it doesn't really show the rose to the best of its qualities. The foliage, which makes a nice display for the bloom, are shoved down into the base. So,
Well, and if you look at the scorecard in the schedule,
Mhm.
balance and proportion, is what, 20 points?
yeah, well, 15 or 20.
15 or 20 points. So if we took this little guy and we put him up like this and wedged him, see how much more pleasing that is?
Mhm.
It's a
And
much
don't-
better
Don't
display.
take the foliage off unless it was really diseased or, wind torn or something like that. 'cause
Yeah, you
the
wanna leave all the
foliage adds-
foliage.
Yeah, there is a point for stem and foliage.
And another thing too is, if you have water spots, sometimes you could just move your thumb or your finger over that and bring out the natural oil in the petal and just shine that guy up.
But don't use any leaf oil or mayonnaise or anything like that.
No artificial
Because we'll
substance.
know, and that could be lots of points off. And if it was a good specimen, a really pretty bloom, and you had done that, it would never win a blue ribbon.
But I don't know if you can tell, but just a little bit of grooming and the shine is already coming out on the leaves.
Yeah, you can get the water minerals off.
Yeah. But you don't use banana oil or whatever.
Furniture oil.
So,
So, yeah, if it was wedged, if it had a wedge, it would be a lot nicer exhibit.
Where do you get the wedges? Do they
You
provide
can
them or do you
make,
buy
this is
them?
just foam,
Oh,
or you
it's
can
just a
make it
foam.
out of aluminum foil, or
Oh,
you can crush up
perfect.
some leaves and put it in there, as long as it doesn't come over the lip,
Yeah.
because we don't want to see, we're not judging the wedge.
Okay.
so basically, so that's there. I just went and got a block at Michael's and then just cut them into little chunks and put them in a Ziploc bag and I put them in my kit. Or you can use roll leaves or Aluminum foil? No.
Well, some people have, I don't think it works very well.
No.
But, you know, just any little styrofoam stuff that comes in your packing that doesn't melt.
And sometimes if you have extra leaves, you can just roll them into a
Yeah.
tight ball and then
And-
just use that as a wedge.
Yeah.
And just make sure that it's not sticking up above the lip of the
Yeah,
container.
nothing you thinking about with it.
So, okay.
All right, well, some of them that don't have the class A or B, I think we need to move, like this doesn't have the class A or B, and I think it should go in the class B, because I can see the statement. So I don't know if you wanna put all these, the fully open ones down, so that
we
we
can.
judge those together.
If it pleases you.
Yeah.
This one has a.
What do you wanna do with the pink dainty best? She's hiding this thing.
She's asleep. We'll put her down here.
And then this one, Midas Touch has, this one, Chicago Creek.
And then two, you want to take a rubber band and attach it to the base. And we'll have rubber bands for you too for the, I don't see statements there, but it's close.
Yeah.
To attach it. See the hole is tag here?
Don't they usually have rubber bands on it?
Well, we supply rubber bands, but they don't come that way.
Oh.
Well, we'll give you rubber bands. If you're entering the show, build, put it this way, we put it on the placement table. With your name filled up. all that
Okay.
stuff.
So we'll judge all the class A. These are A,
This is,
up through here.
this is an A, isn't it?
Yes,
This is A? These are all A's.
yeah, and then these are fully open,
Okay.
okay?
And I have the hole punch.
Okay. That's really important, the punch.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, first we'll look at form, and we'll just take a look at the class as a whole and see what the quality is.
The overall quality of the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see the judges walking the tables to see, because if it's like a district or something that's very high quality or a national, and then as a local show, it's much different.
Mhm, mhm. So, we're looking at form, we're looking at damage, we're looking at stem and proportion. See, a lot of these should have been wedged up and it would have looked a lot nicer. Okay.
Those are the tricks you learn.
This one has a nice center, this has a nice center, this one has lost its center, I don't, she has a exhibition form, Nicole Carroll Miller.
But she tends to open flat.
But, and you can see it flat, but she's not fully open. So, but the form is gone. This has a confused center, what we call a confused center. A lot of times roses don't have a high point like this, and they for some reason develop a split, and it looks like it has two centers. So this one is kind of confused. It would
Almost
might have to be
quartered.
the three, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This one has a nice center.
Mhm.
And Double Delight is really difficult. This particular rose is very difficult to have exhibition form with a nice center.
Mhm.
So I've heard different theories. I don't know what causes her not to have a good
For
center.
double delights, usually too much nitrogen will give it
Yeah.
give it like a pig snout. It'll have like two centers.
So, but this one has a nice center.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 6 in class A. And I think this one is really nice. This one could be opened a little bit more. In the old days, you used to see people, when they're getting their roses ready to exhibit, you will see them with camel hair brushes, brushing the petals really patiently to get that center right
Or
in the
pushing the
middle.
petals down.
Yeah, right in the middle. Sometimes they're little cattywampus or something.
Sometimes you can just get your finger in there too and just kind of
Open it.
gently push that.
Well, then you use Q-tips.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
some people.
Yes, I was gonna say,
you have
use
to
Q-tips.
Remember to take the Q-tips out.
Ouch. Yeah.
We have judged with Q-tips in, little strips of paper with the name of the rose on it, and different things to try to help the rose to open up, but the exhibitor forgot to come back and open it out.
So ideally, what you want to see from the side is that these petals are down much flatter,
Almost a horizontal.
horizontal, and then openly, from the top it should be perfectly round, going into a pinpoint center, almost like a galaxy spiral. That's what you wanna see, that's the,
Mhm.
the preferred form.
Very much like this, and Hot Prince is almost always perfect like that.
What's the name of that?
This one,
Uh-huh.
Cajun
Cajun
Sunrise.
Sunrise.
Yeah. And this is Hot Princess.
And
This
the
is
piece, it's
piece.
hard to get a center on piece.
Yeah, but it can be very large,
Mhm.
but that has a nice center.
And see, this one could
You can work with it and manipulate the petals a
get
little
them down a
bit.
little bit more, so this is more what you're looking at here.
Yeah, they wanted it, I think.
Almost like a cup and saucer,
Yeah, a little bit, not too much cup though.
but some saucer.
So, and these two don't have a center, this one has a center, but it lacks stem and foliage, as you can see. And even if they had used the wedge, for some reason, maybe the foliage was really damaged, or a grasshopper got to it, or deer, or,
Yeah, we wanna have the complete package.
so, what are we awarding, just the regular blues, or?
Yeah,
Okay. And we can have more than one blue, more than one second, more than one,
mm-hmm.
except sometimes, but we get down to the nitty gritty and just choose the very best one in class. So, what do you think? 1, 2, 3, and have the rest honorable mention?
You could do that, or that's fine.
That's B,
Right. You can do that.
or do you want, these are all good, these three are very nice. We could get 3 blue.
You can get 3 blues, but sometimes they make us point score, so there's like a high blue and there's a low blue. And it's usually the high blue wins the
And it's
trophy.
hard on the judges when we have really nice roses, that we have all these blues and we have to choose between all of them, so he refers to point scoring. You will have this scorecard in your schedule, and we have to allot or take away points and see who comes out on the top.
Did you have a question?
In a regular show, these varieties are not competing with each other. Each variety is judged by itself. So if you only have one peace rose, it's all by itself and it can be a blue ribbon. Or you could have 10 peace roses and you still only have one blue ribbon.
That's right. We don't have that many, lots of times we'll have 2 or 3 of
Yeah.
the same variety.
Same variety. But in a normal show, the way they do it now, each variety is separate, is judged only against its peers, basically. Until you get into like best in class or something like that, then they all get lumped in together. The old way of judging, the old school of judging was color class shows. Oh.
That was just beginning to go out when I started being
Oh,
a judge.
it was a
But a
very-
color class show is really pretty to look at, because you have the graduations of color all the same color together. It's really pretty.
Yeah, first judge show I judged as an apprentice was in San Diego, under those horrible lights in that exhibition building. And there were like 65 entries in the red class.
Oh, my God.
And they told me as the apprentice to put them in 1, 2, 3, 4 order.
Well, that was their job that day.
Oh,
The apprentice has to work, when they're on my team, I make them do all the work.
Yeah,
But that's the way they learn.
I was the low man on the totem. And actually, I put them in an order that they accepted. It took me half an hour.
Yeah,
But-
it takes a long time.
It was,
You were an apprentice?
yeah,
Oh.
first show, my first show.
Oh, God, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
And the lighting in there was, they had some kind of weird sodium
Fluorescent
vapor lights or something, so it would make the colors
They
look
look black or
completely
something.
weird.
Yeah.
They didn't look like the normal.
Yeah, it can be very difficult.
So, what do we do? So this is second?
Let's do all these in first. We don't have to worry about court or anything. Because this one has a second, so we need to give it a second
Okay.
and give these a third. Okay.
question about fragrance. You don't judge fragrance except in that category?
We don't judge fragrance unless there's a separate
Separate
category for
category.
fragrance.
There is a separate category for most fragrant rose.
Then we usually let the public vote on it too, so that's kind of fun. We don't do that anymore.
We don't do that anymore.
Oh, I know,
I
I
can
don't
smell it.
But the thing is, even though you're judging it with fragrance, it has more points because of the fragrance, you're also judging the best one that looks the best form too.
Yeah,
That's part
but
of it.
usually the most fragrant, regardless of form, wins.
Yeah,
That's in the fragrance process. But it doesn't make any difference when we're judging like that. Because sometimes we can smell it and say, oh, which one's really fragrant? Poor Daisy does. This one's a little bit wilted. This is very nice, you can see the stamens clearly. And
it's still pretty fresh.
sometimes, like in this one, there's something, the little distorted petals in the middle, they're called petaloids, and sometimes you can pluck them out to make the stamens show up more, but don't pluck it too much, it's like lady's eyebrow.
And another thing too, sometimes judges will look at the back of the rose, and you can see there's some windburn petals. We pull those off, or we encourage people to just pull those, remove those, because they're a bit distracting. So especially on the old garden roses, we'll look at the back of the rose.
Okay, I can barely see the stamens in there, but I can see them.
There's one.
Yeah,
I
you
see
can
one.
see them here. So they all conform to the class. That's another thing, performance. I think there's only, 5 points now or something like that.
This
And,
one's really pretty. See how much nicer that would be up high,
yeah, the ruffled
Yeah,
petals.
it's a leaves.
and more leaves. Leave the leaves.
Yeah, stem and foliage.
You bring them to the show to enter them with as much stem and foliage as you can cut in the garden. You can always take it off, you can't put it back on.
Cut as long, I cut right to the cane to get as long a stem as you can get.
3 to 5 times the size of the balloon.
What was that?
Three
The height?
3 to 5 times the size of the balloon.
Well, they used to say 7, but the longer the better, not the shorter. You can see what happens when they're too short.
Okay, so we give these.
This one's really nice. It has more foliage.
This one's beautiful.
That one, we have a blue and a blue.
Okay. Punch it.
You know,
Not at all.
give it 1 second.
I'd give her a first, we just can't really see her because
We know she's beautiful.
we know she's beautiful.
And she has beautiful stamens that unfortunately we can't see.
That's why we have our shows in the morning, because they're open.
What's the name of that rose?
What?
Daisy Best.
Oh,
Do you know what it looks like when it's open? It
Yeah,
has
it's
these
really
nice
pretty.
little
It should look like
stamens.
it.
Yeah. All right, the next class is Floribundas, and there are 2 subclasses, single bloom at exhibition stage and a spray. We have no sprays, so there's one with a single bloom and it's called Fabulous.
And you can see that this one would have benefited from being up
Yeah,
much better
see how much nicer,
with some
see
wedges.
the foliage, yeah.
It's a great bloom,
what's the name of
It
that?
doesn't have any-
fabulous.
Fabulous.
And it is fabulous.
It is, it
It
is.
is, and it's no longer in commerce.
Oh, it is?
Really? Interesting.
If you can find one, grab it.
I thought it was a French lace, maybe.
No.
No, French lace I think is still in commerce.
Yeah, it is. I just bought one.
Doesn't difference.
No mini floras and 1 miniature, single bloom at exhibition stage. I would assume this is exhibition stage. Doesn't look like it has the high point and center type of exhibition stage.
It's almost a decorative.
Yeah, yeah, but it's very, very nice.
Very
Nice-
pretty.
Nice foliage. It could stand a little wedging too, but it has lots of foliage already.
So when we're saying decorative, let's take this guy out.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the perfect center. It's very flat, you can see, So it would probably be, it just probably would never make a mini queen, because they must have that exhibition, form. This would be exhibition stage, this is the best stage of possibility of exhibiting this rose.
For that particular rose.
But I would put it in a decorative mini category, which there is one too.
What's the name of that one?
Texas,
There's many, many.
big state, tiny rose.
And
And
yellow.
the next one is all others that don't fit in the other categories. So we have climbers, single climbers, shrubs, and David Austin's English roses, English style roses, and old garden roses.
So we have one climber and we have 3 shrubs.
This is a David Austin rose called Olivia, and this is Bella Story. And this is Golden Wings, which is a climber, it's a shrub.
Shrub.
And Altismo is a climber.
Mhm.
So they're all individuals, stunning.
They're all individual.
All individuals to be great.
Well, in a real show, the shrubs would be all bunched together in their own category, and the climbers would be in a separate category.
And sometimes the David Austin roses are together too, or they're classed with the shrubs. And
Or-
then there's different types of shrubs too that they can be broken down into. It depends on the show and what they want in their show.
So, and then there's modern shrubs and there's classic
Yeah.
shrubs. Would golden wings be a classic shrub? It's not
I don't know
like
if it's that old.
Probably 45 or 50 years old.
oh, so it's not, no.
No, it's not old enough.
I think it's like Cordeaceae and that sort of thing.
Yeah, which we hardly ever see.
Or rugosas, that's,
Rugosas, there's more.
that's not a modern
rugosas.
shrub.
Well, there are modern hybrids.
Yeah, but
So it depends on, what the show people want, what the society wants.
or what the American Rose Society tells us it wants.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's usually the thing,
So
so.
these are all beautiful, and this is single roses have stamens showing,
Yeah.
but they belong in a different class. So, but they all have nice stem and foliage, so somebody was listening. I think they're all really nice.
They are nice.
They're all really
I could give them all blues.
Yeah, shall we?
Oh, that's something else. The little pink one is. Oh, I choose it. I'll take it.
Liz, are we using the bottom part of the, card? Do we use that for tallying? So we don't have to fill out the bottom part if we don't want to? Okay,
No,
as long as we can't see your name.
Yeah, and you can use your, return address sticker, so you don't have to keep writing your name.
We don't use the bottom part for tallying?
No,
Thought we
we
did.
don't, we don't.
Kim?
At National, I had to bring my own punch. We made us bring our own punch.
That was real mean.
That was, and I brought 2, and I gave one away because they needed them. But normally, some judges do carry it, I do now, but usually it's provided, or the clerk gets the job of doing the punching, so.
Okay, now we gotta pick out the best of each class. And these are our lovely trophies. So,
Oh, nice. Wow. I don't think this one's open yet. This one's really nice. I think this one deserves it.
Okay. that's fine.
Trophy on it.
What's the name of that one?
Hot Princess.
Hot Princess.
These are some, I don't know these names.
That's a great rose.
Is it?
It's a big bush.
It's a queen machine is what it is.
It's a big bush too.
Need to write that.
So the queen of the show is the top award in that category of Dr. G's, not the king. King comes second.
This is her.
Well, this would be the, you stretch the whole thing.
Oh, okay, because this is A and B.
Right, but they still only get one.
Oh, okay.
We're not that generous.
Okay, and this one, of course, is the trophy. It's beautiful.
Right.
Whoa, that's lovely. We may have to go get one.
Trophy. Trophy.
And what about all the, I have to choose the best one?
I'll leave it up to you.
The climber.
I think this is the best.
It is pretty, they're all pretty.
They are all.
This is where our job gets really hard.
But to see a golden wings that's so clean with no threat marks,
Okay.
Trophy.
It's really hard. They all deserve a trophy, I think.
Now, what's the best in the show? I think Golden Wings, yeah.
So, best in show. Wow.
All right, questions about our bizarre methodology or methodology.
Tell me that, next to last pink one, what is the name of it?
It's a David Austin.
Not that one, it's the other one.
No, the next one.
This one,
Yeah.
Bell Story.
And that's-
Again, no longer in commerce.
I saw it on somebody's list the other
Are these
day.
your private?
Well,
Private
this
selection?
is mine, yes. Yeah. And then
I think Bell Story is one of the best Austin roses that was ever produced.
Bell Story is a David Austin masterpiece, but the problem is David Austin died, and this is from 1984.
Wow.
And so they're discontinuing a lot of the old classic David Austins because they have millions of new ones that they want to sell. And the son is just running roughshod over the nurseries, not letting him sell, shutting him down. K&M is not allowed to sell any David Austins anymore, which is ridiculous. But it's the son, he's just gotten real greedy and he's just, it's too bad, so,
It's lovely.
yes.
So have you ever taken a cutting from any of your roses and started another rose? Oh, no. Oh, no. The
Successful.
reason I'm asking is because.
Was there an attorney in the house?
Well, not to sell, just to have.
Oh, yes.
So if I knew someone that had a rose that I particularly liked, then, and if I knew that process, then I could have a rose like that, because it would be the same stock.
Sure.
And I've actually done that. I've done cuttings of Fabulous and Bell Story and some others, and I've just given them away. I didn't make any money on them. So you can do that. Usually we do that in the winter time, so they can winter through. But yeah, so it's a shame because some of these roses are so nice. Fabulous is an old Jackson and Perkins rose from what, 1990 something, 1998, 2000. But it's just, it gets no mildew. It has like beautiful white foliage, and usually you get sprays of it like this. It's a wonderful flora abundant. It's still in the top 20, but you can't find it anywhere.
It was only around for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, not very long at all. So I think it's Keith Zeri, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's the one. And then Golden Wings is what, from the 1920s?
1953.
1953, okay.
Wait, I also have page, but I have a book. It's an old book, but it's.
Oh, would you hold that up?
Yeah,
If
but
you join the
1953
American Rose Society.
It's still 1953, even if it's an old book.
So Danny Best must be the old rose.
I'm sorry, what?
Danny Best is how, what year introduced?
What
There you go.
That's like the 1920s, right? So it's a shame you can't see it, but it has maroon stamens. 1925, and a single petal hybrid tea. So it would look like this when it's fully open, and it's really, really pretty. You can still get that though.
Yeah, I just got one. I just started one this last fall.
It's a nice rose.
Golden Wings was 1953 and Fabulous was 2000.
2000, okay. So there you have it.
My 2017 succulent roses.
Okay. So
So hold that up. Terry wanted to say.
if you join the American Rose Society, every year when you get your annual, you'll get this little handbook that tells you what the rose is, the introduction, what category it goes into. So it's really great when you're exhibiting to have that.
Or when you're purchasing.
Yeah, I
roses.
used to put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
See
too.
how they're rated.
They are
But
rated,
remember,
yeah.
this is the whole country, it's not your specific area. Sometimes roses that have a high rating won't grow here.
But the best way to find out what grows well is to come to the Rose Show and see what people are bringing from the local areas. And then just take pictures of it and then the name tag and go and see if you can find it.
Now, you have people from out of town who bring their roses out of state.
Not so much out of state, sometimes from Phoenix.
No, we had on some from Home Springs at the last show.
Probably my Teresa
We could get some from California or El Paso. Sometimes we would get El Paso, but
I tell you what,
Palm Springs is the same temperature as we
there's
are,
so much to learn.
sometimes hotter. So if
it's
we can
closer,
survive
it's
there.
closer to, yeah.
We
Yes.
also have a fall show, just spring and fall, or just spring?
We just do spring, we used to do a spring and fall, but Mesa does a fall show.
Ah.
And that's gonna be in November, so April and November are our bloom times,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
Does Dallas do a
They
spring and
did,
fall?
when I was showing, they did both.
Oh,
Spring
okay.
and fall. Spring was the big one, but fall was mostly the most beautiful one because they had cooler weather to grow
Yeah, and less insects
and
usually.
lots less, yes, it was so humid there, so.
Are you also a rose judge?
I am not.
Would you like to
Someday
become
I would
one?
love to become one.
Sounds like we need you.
Yes.
And really, if any of you, if you're gonna like be new exhibitors, it's a lot of fun.
It's a total blast.
And if you're not having fun, just check in with yourself, because it's
It's
supposed to be fun, it's just supposed to be fun. But if you can become a rose judge,
a blast.
it's a blast, and it gets better every show you get to.
And everybody
What's that?
helps
What
you.
makes it a blast?
You know what, because you get to go to, well, you have a lot of your friends or good friends are judges. You get to go to all these beautiful shows, you see amazing
Yeah,
displays.
shows all over the country and the world.
Yeah.
I've been to world conventions in Japan,
Oh,
Denmark,
wow.
China,
Oh, wow.
South Africa,
Oh,
France.
I would love to see some of the English shows,
I
because
really
they have bouquets like this, they're enormous, they're just enormous, and I imagine,
Their bowls.
well, and they do bowls too, so, it's really fun.
Yeah,
I think
I don't know how to do it.
I went this weekend to the show in Glendale, it was fantastic. First of all, the roses are so beautiful, and you really can't pick which one you like the best, but it was nice to see this setup, you know, the hybrid teas together, the floribundas together, I mean, it was incredible. And Donaldina was there,
She
she
got to be my
helped me.
clerk.
Yes, it was a clerk.
So, do we have all the clerks now? So one thing you can do too is volunteer to clerk at a show, and what you do is you stand behind the judges, and you give them whatever the supplies they need, and you get to listen. I mean, you don't engage with the judge, but you get to
You're not
listen
supposed to,
what
but-
they're talking about, yeah, sometimes people do.
Let Catherine talk.
They taught me.
Yeah, so, but it's really fun, because, especially if they come to your rose, then you can hear what you did wrong or what you did right.
And you're not supposed to say anything, but bite your tongue.
And don't go, "Oh, I got a rose." All right, raffle,
You go ahead.
okay.
Or call somebody else to
Sounds good.
help.
Oh, well, you gotta take it, I'll do it. Okay, so what is this, DDT?
Tickets, Mom.
Oh, whatever, it looks like it's valuable. Maybe we'll get those thrips.
Paraquat.
What is that?
Paraquat.
What's that?
Oh,
One
that's
of
the
those
one,
toxic pesticides.
that's the one they're advertising.
Oh, I don't think it's paraquat.
Yeah.
Okay. 350. Oh, see, I knew you should be taking those tickets.
Is it organic?
Okay, so this lovely vase, you can float a rose in this, very nice. It's solid glass. $383.
Here.
Oh,
You got it?
Put it down there.
there you go. Okay, Arizona's best all-purpose. This is good stuff. For alkaline soils, like we have out here. $357. Oh. There you go. And then we have some stationery with puppies on it. Is that what this is? Okay. 384?
You got another one?
Oh,
Did you get it again?
what is your lucky day? Better buy a lottery ticket.
Oh, that's right. Did you hear that? She's begging already.
Oh, well. 326.
I got it.
Oh, congratulations. That's that good rose food. All right, well, that's all I've got for you. Hopefully you can bring roses to the show. If you can't, it's going to be open to the public 1 to 4. Come and see the exhibits. It's usually a very beautiful display. So, it's at Trinity Presbyterian Church,
I don't know.
400 East University. It's right on the corner of University Boulevard and 4th Street. No, 4th Avenue. 4th Avenue. Okay. And the schedule is on the website. So go to the website. It's and you can print it out.
And the directions are in the schedule.
We have some schedules still left. So does anyone need a schedule? All right. Thank you for everyone who brought roses. Congratulations to the winner.
Nice meeting you. Are you gonna come to the show?
Do you want to take my roses? It is. It's one of my favorite roses. Mel Story. Are you good at cuttings?
No, I've never done that.
Oh, okay.
I've never done it.
Have you tried doing cuttings?
No, I keep telling myself I should because I do you know how to do it? Yeah. I've read about it, but I've never done it. I know I can't help it. I have a Nancy Reagan. I may have to go back and get one of those.
It's fine.
At,